Hello and welcome back to the Who's He Podcast YouTube channel. And here I am again with a look at Season 9 of this season of Star Wars The Bad Batch, titled The Crossing. After last week's double episode that put this season back on track with the main story arc, my prediction that this week would see the season take a step backwards again with a Mission of the Week style episode came true. Well, because that's exactly what this is. Unfortunately, we have another Mission for Sid episode that does nothing to push the main story arc along. But what this episode did do is continue with Omega's character arc that was set up last week when Echo left the squad. But before I get onto that, let's have a quick plot summary. We open with the Bad Batch en route in their ship the Marauder to an Ipsium mine that Sid has purchased. Sid wants them to mine this volatile material for reasons we never find out. With Wrecker and Omega left as lookouts, Hunter and Tech enter the mine in search of this week's MacGuffin. However, some way away, a mysterious figure watches them through macro binoculars. Back in the mine, Hunter and Tech discover a small trace of Ipsium which they cannot reach. Outside, Omega begins to confide in Wrecker that she finds it strange without Echo being around, but is then called by Hunter to enter the mine to help extract the Ipsium. While our heroes are mining, the mysterious figure makes their way to the Marauder and promptly steals it as the Bad Batch can only look helplessly on. Now stranded, they decide to find the nearest town, which they discover is 40 clicks away. As they make their way to the town through a canyon, a herd of stampeding deer-like creatures calls our heroes to get to higher ground and then notice an incoming storm that caused the herd to panic. Trying to outrun the storm, they stumble across another mine, but upon entry, Tech loses control of the Ipsium they collected, which promptly explodes and traps them inside the mine itself. Whilst they are planning to dig their way out, Omega argues with Tech over the loss of the Marauder, with Tech dismissing the ship as purely a means to travel, while Omega sees the Marauder as their home. Omega then leaves the group and wanders through the mine and stumbles across a rich seam of Ipsium. Hunter sends Tech after Omega, mainly to apologise to her. When he finds her, Omega is busy mining the Ipsium, to which Tech and Omega agree that they can use to blow their way out of the mine. As Omega is trying to get to a difficult to reach seam of Ipsium, she falls below and Tech dies after her. With now both trapped in fast-moving rapids, they're both deposited into another cavern. Omega finds a small chink of light coming through the cavern wall. Tech informs Hunter to collect the Ipsium they found and to make their way to them in the same manner in which they arrived. Whilst they are waiting, Omega asks Tech why he is not missing Echo and says that they are family. Tech explains that as a soldier, he deals with these things differently and that change is just a part of life. Finally, Hunter and Wrecker arrive and they use some of the Ipsium to blow a hole in the cavern and make their escape outside. Now free, they make their way to the town, but on arrival, discover that it's been abandoned some time ago. Using a communications array, Tech sends out a long-range signal to Sid. However, Sid is in no mood to mount a rescue, but after the squad inform her of the amount of times they have bailed her out of trouble, she reluctantly agrees to send the ship, but it will take her a few days. And that is how this episode ends. Now, after last week's politically driven story, this week's episode is a disappointment, with the only redeeming feature being the continuation of Omega's family breakup plot strand. However, the whole mining plot is pointless and does little to drive Omega's arc. This could have easily been played out on Old Man Trail, and yes, even the Marauder being stolen on that planet could have happened there as well. And this is my problem with these Mission of the Week episodes. While they do sometimes lay the groundwork for character development, they are ultimately pointless. Omega had some good moments in this episode, and it does illustrate to younger viewers that change to family units does happen, and for a lot of people it is a struggle. But it also shows that other people process change in different ways, so from that point of view, I think this episode does that fairly well. But my biggest gripe is Sid. I can see no real reason as to why the Bad Batch continues to stick around with her. She treats them appallingly, has little regard for their safety, and as shown at the end of this episode, she just wants to leave them to sort it out for themselves. Her character in the first season was to give them a safe haven to provide them with work, but Sid as a character has served her purpose and in my opinion is now basically redundant. The clones no longer need her, and for me it is this relationship that is holding this season back. We're at the midpoint of this season now, and when the showrunners have concentrated on the main story arc, it's been good, very good in fact. But the Mission of the Week episode stopped everything in its tracks, and to be fair, I can level that same accusation at the Clone Wars as well, who really look forward to episodes featuring Jar Jar Binks and his wacky escapades, or watching C-3PO getting uptight and R2 bleeping for 30 minutes. Not me, I'm afraid. So for me, and if the Bad Batch goes to the third season, Sid needs to go. However, as this episode ends on a cliffhanger thanks to Sid's attitude towards the clones, maybe next week we'll see them part ways. I can only hope.